Hello, friends. This week delivered two important updates that impact every American who receives Social Security, and I want to make sure you hear about them directly because most people still haven't. Not from the nightly news, not from their bank, and not from the Social Security Administration itself. The first update was released on June 9th and involves a timeline that has moved closer. The second came out yesterday following the newest inflation report, and it's the type of development that could put additional money into your monthly check. But there's an important detail you need to understand first. Today on The Frank American, I'm going to explain both stories in simple terms, show you what they actually mean for your circumstances, and tell you exactly what actions, if any, you should take. Before we begin, make sure you subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications. Everything I'm discussing today is brand new information from this week, and this is exactly the kind of update I monitor, so you don't have to. Subscribe now and let's dive in. We'll begin with the news released on Monday, June 9th, because this one centers around a deadline that just moved a little closer. Every year, the Treasury Department and the Social Security Administration release an official document known as the Trustees Report. This report evaluates the financial condition of Social Security and estimates how long its funds are expected to last. This year's report was published on June 9th, and one number stood out immediately: 2032. That is the year the main Social Security Retirement Fund, formerly known as the OASI Trust Fund, is now expected to exhaust its reserves. Here's why this year's report is more significant than previous estimates. The projected depletion date moved up again. Last year's report estimated that reserves would last until the first quarter of 2033. This year, that estimate shifted to the fourth quarter of 2032, which is 3 months earlier. At first glance, that may not seem like a major difference, but this marks the second year in a row that the timeline has moved in the wrong direction. The trustees also explain why this happened. The large tax legislation passed in 2025 reduced the amount of federal income tax many Social Security beneficiaries pay on their benefits. That sounds positive for retirees, and in the short term, it certainly is. However, it also means less money is flowing back into the Social Security system, which speeds up the timeline toward reserve depletion. So what exactly happens in 2032? This is a part that many news reports fail to explain clearly. The trust fund running out does not mean Social Security disappears. The program will continue collecting payroll taxes from millions of working Americans every year. What it does mean is that those payroll taxes alone are currently projected to cover only 78% of the benefits beneficiaries are scheduled to receive. In other words, if Congress takes no action before then, benefits would automatically be reduced by approximately 22% for every recipient, regardless of age, health status, or how long they've been receiving payments. Based on today's average Social Security benefit of about $2,081 per month, a 22% reduction equals roughly $458 less every month. Someone receiving $1,500 monthly would lose around $330. Someone receiving $2,500 would lose approximately $550. This is not a prediction about somebody else. This is a projection that affects every current Social Security recipient, and that date is now less than 7 years away. AARP responded on June 9th with an official statement urging Congress to take immediate bipartisan action. The American Academy of Actuaries and the Bipartisan Policy Center also issued reports within 24 hours, emphasizing that the opportunity for gradual and manageable reform is shrinking. They warn that the longer lawmakers delay action, the more severe the eventual solutions may have to be. So what does this mean for you right now in practical terms? If you're already receiving Social Security benefits, the most important thing to understand is that nothing changes today, tomorrow, or next year. Under current law, the system is fully funded through 2032. This is not an emergency that requires immediate action from you. What it is, however, is important information that you should understand because over the next several years, you're going to hear constant discussions about Social Security reform. And when those conversations happen, you'll understand what's truly at stake. That potential 22% reduction is not just a random estimate. It is a mathematical outcome projected under current law if lawmakers fail to act. If you have not claimed Social Security yet, This report adds another factor to your decision-making process. Claiming earlier could allow you to lock in your benefit amount before any future changes occur. Waiting until age 70 still provides larger monthly checks, but it also means a greater portion of your retirement income depends on Congress addressing this issue before 2032. Neither option is automatically right for everyone. Your health, other retirement income sources, and your expectations about future legislative action all matter. But you deserve to make those decisions using accurate information, and that's exactly what this report provides. Now, let's move to the second major update. This one was released yesterday, Thursday, June 13th, and it's based on May inflation data published by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Every October, the Social Security Administration announces the following year's cost of living adjustment, commonly known as COLA. That adjustment is determined using the CPIW, which stands for the Consumer Price Index for urban wage earners and clerical workers. Specifically, the government measures inflation during July, August, and September. The official 2027 COLA won't be announced until October, but independent analysts track inflation data every month and release early estimates throughout the year so retirees can see where things are heading. This week, those estimates moved noticeably higher. As of May 2026, CPIW inflation is running at 4.4% compared to a year ago. That is the highest reading we've seen in 3 years, largely driven by rising energy costs. Gasoline prices and utility bills have increased substantially because of global pressures, and food prices continue rising faster than many headline reports suggest. Mary Johnson, an independent Social Security and Medicare policy analyst who has followed COLA calculations for decades, updated her estimate on Thursday to 4.7%. She also said there is a strong possibility that estimate could rise even further as additional inflation data is released. Meanwhile, the Senior Citizens League, a nonpartisan organization that advocates for older Americans, is currently projecting a 3.8% increase. To put those numbers into perspective, the 2026 COLA was 2.8%, which added roughly $56 to the average monthly benefit. A 4.7% COLA in 2027 would increase the average monthly benefit by approximately $98. Benefit amounts could increase by nearly twice as much as they did this year. For someone receiving $2,500 per month, a 4.7% increase would mean about $117 more each month. For someone receiving $1,500, it would mean roughly an additional $70. But here's the important detail, and this is the part one really want you to remember. A larger COLA sounds like excellent news, and when you look only at the dollar amount, it certainly is. However, a higher COLA is also a sign that inflation is increasing more rapidly than before. The 2.8% COLA you received in January 2026 raised the average monthly benefit by approximately $56. But according to Mary Johnson's analysis, based on current inflation levels from May, it would actually take about $94 more each month just to maintain the same purchasing power you had a year ago. Your Social Security payment increased by $56, but your expenses increased by $94. That difference is a hidden problem that's slowly reducing seniors' purchasing power month after month. This is a larger structural issue that even a bigger 2027 COLA only partially solves. Receiving more money is obviously better than receiving less. But if groceries, energy bills, and healthcare costs continue rising faster than the adjustment itself, many retirees still fall behind financially despite getting larger checks. According to a survey released this week by the Senior Citizens League, 44% of retirees, which equals about 24.8 million Americans, now rely on Social Security for their entire income. Just 1 year ago, that number was 39%. In an environment like this, the gap between what COLA covers and what inflation actually costs becomes incredibly important. So what's the practical takeaway regarding COLA? Right now, the 2027 adjustment appears to be shaping up significantly larger than this year's increase. That's positive news when measured in dollars, but it's not a reason to make any immediate financial decisions. The official percentage will not be finalized until October, and there are still several months of inflation data that will determine the final number, specifically the readings from July, August, and September. If current inflation trends continue, retirees could see a meaningful increase. If energy prices begin to stabilize, the final adjustment could end up lower. Keep an eye out for the official announcement in October. Until then, understanding that the overall trend is moving upward can help you make smarter financial decisions today. So, let's summarize everything we learned this week. The 2026 Trustees Report, released on June 9th, moved the projected Social Security Trust Fund depletion date forward to the fourth quarter of 2032, which is 1 quarter earlier than last year's estimate. If Congress fails to act before then, benefits would automatically be reduced by approximately 22% for every recipient. The senior tax changes included in the 2025 legislation accelerated that timeline by reducing some of the money flowing back into the Social Security system. Nothing changes for you right now, but the opportunity for gradual reform is now officially less than 7 years away. Meanwhile, projections for the 2027 COLA currently range between 3.8% and 4.7% based on May inflation data, which could nearly double this year's increase in dollar terms. However, the final number won't be announced until October. And remember, that increase is a response to inflation that is already reducing purchasing power faster than annual adjustments can fully compensate for. If you found this update helpful, subscribe to The Frank American and share this video with someone who relies on Social Security. These weekly updates matter because accurate information gives you time to prepare instead of being caught off guard later.